Hi, this is Peter Friedrich, and today we are speaking with Umar Baba about the Kashmir issue. So, Umar, I want to thank you for offering your time to express your opinions, your perspective about what's happening in Kashmir right now. And you are from Kashmir, yes?
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter. Yes, I'm from Kashmir. At presently, I'm in South Korea, doing my research project here. Uh, so about Kashmir, I'm 24 years old, and this is my first time to go outside the country. And at that time, what I'm going through, that anybody can feel it. That when a person comes out from the home after 23 years, from other place, and that I knew how it feels to me and how it feels to others who are staying in other parts of the world or in other parts of the country. So it's a gruesome act. It's a gruesome act that Indian government done at that time, when there is a rise in the tourism, when there is a rise in the education system, when there is a rise in the health sector in Kashmir. So at that time, the Indian government just black out all the things in the Kashmir. Not only if we see that. We usually think that there is a blackout in the communication, but from last 3 years, there is a blackout of everything. The basic fundamental rights were violated in Kashmir, and the main reason of it is India. So from very beginning, if we see that in after independence, there was an agreement between Kashmir and the Indian government, and that accession gave us some identity. This we are having some rights. We are having something that we are really proud of. So with election manifesto thing for the political parties of both India and for Pakistan. So between these two countries, who suffers? Kashmiri. So the thing is that there are certain treaties between the India and the Pakistan. There are some UN resolutions on it. But the thing is that are they applicable? They didn't apply anywhere. It is just a document thing that they just write it on the papers and then make it a document just to feed us the thumb. Just feed us a thumb that you are having just that thing, you are having that thing, you are having that thing. But at on 5th August, the Indian government just scrapped all the things, just to say that now Kashmir is an integral part of India. So as was never their property, and it will never be a property of India until there is some involvement of stakeholders of the state.
Okay. So, and the stakeholders of this issue in particular, I would think, would be Kashmiris. So, Umar, I
Yes.
want to ask you, what is it that has prompted you today, after these many years, decades of conflict in Kashmir? Why are you speaking out today?
Uh, that's a great question. The thing is that from if we see from 47 up to 90s, there was a rebellion by the Kashmiris on at social level, at military level, on every stage there was a rebellion by the Kashmiris against the Indian government. But after 90s, if we check the figures of the education, if we check the figures of the human development, it is stepping up. So the thing is that when we learn about what is happening with us, so if we compare ourselves with the other parts of the world, if we compare ourselves with the other states of the India, the thing is that we have been pushed backwards from time to time, and it can be understood by the person who is having some education of it. The thing is that Peter, you asked me about what compels you to ask, what compels you to talk about. The thing is that when a person, as a person, up to 5th August, there are some persons, one, two, three, who have been gone through this. But at that time, this time, there this indulgement of the Indian government make every Kashmiri to think about it, make every Kashmiri to outreach to the world and tell the world that what is happening with us and why didn't a world speak a word against it. The thing is that
Okay. So what is happening in Kashmir right now? You mentioned this communications blackout. There's basically a blockade on Kashmir. There's martial law been imposed. There have been about 50,000 troops deployed into Kashmir in the past couple of weeks, in addition to the 500,000 or 600,000 or 700,000 Indian troops that were already present. What's happening right now?
uh, I from 5th August, I didn't get a call from my home. So really, this time I didn't know about the Kashmir, but I can analyze from the previous experience that I have stayed in Kashmir for 23 hours for 23 years. So I know what is happening with the Kashmiris that time. So when the basic when the fundamental rights was cited from a person in the modern world, what will happen to that place? There will be a resistance in Kashmir. At that time, I think there are some movements that have been framed. There are some things that have been analyzed, and there are some resistance that Kashmiris are doing. But the thing is that they don't have any access to the communication so that they can reach to the outer world. That this time I belong to South Kashmir, the most militancy hit area in the Kashmir. So I'm familiar with the thing that there is internet blackout in about in a week. We are having 3 days in which we get access to internet. So, was not recognized this time when there is a decrease in the militancy, when there is decrease in the violence, when there is decrease in every kind of the rebellion. Still, why they scrapped at that time 370? Because this was their election manifesto, and they just want to make India the Hinduanta state. So. I'm really concerned about Kashmir that time because I know that the young generation, the young generation knows all the things. They have studied a lot. As you know that the Indian government just say there is an unemployment problem. There is no development in the Kashmir. But if we see the figures of the WHO, in India, there is a human development index, and Kashmir is on the number. Is on the sixth number. There, apart from there are other 19 states. So, what kind of development the India government want there? Want to kill the people, want to kill the Muslims, and then make they just actually. Because the Indian government is this time have been completely drenched in the economic crisis. So they just made all the things, all the government things, the corporate things, so that they can get access on all the things via the third party. So in Kashmir, They didn't want people, just want the resources of the Kashmir. They just want the land of the Kashmir. So the thing is that
Umar, one other young student that I spoke with, the way that he phrased it is that he felt that the government in India, what they want is they want the land of Kashmir without Kashmiris.
yes,
How do you feel about that sentiment?
yes, yes, of course. If they want Kashmiris, they never murder the constitution of theirs. They never murder the constitution of theirs. For the land, they murder their constitution. They murder the Indian constitution. They murder the democracy. So it was pre-planned. It was the pre-planned thing that planning from the they were planning from from previous 5 years, and now at that time they make just like a circus in the Kashmir. Just issue advisories and all the things so that people will think that there is something war hysteria. They create the whole war hysteria in the Kashmir so that people will get people will think of it that we just want peace, we just want peace. But the thing is that they channelize that anger into the different thing. Just like in Kashmir uh, there is a common thing that this season is the well busted season of the tourism in Kashmir. So the Indian government just throw out all the tourists from the Kashmir, just throw out their own pilgrims from the Kashmir, just make a statement to outer world that the Kashmir is not safe. At that time, they just made the advisories and tell other neighboring countries that Kashmir is not safe. But the thing was not that. But the thing was they have planned it for scrapping Article 370. So if we see after the scrapping of the 370, now the Indian government have announced that they are going to do the industrial summit there. So it's a well known fact. They just want a land. So what? How much land the Kashmiris on which the Kashmiris are living? There are 65% of the land, the 65% of the land which apart from the which can be used for the construction, in which 30% of the land is under Indian army. The camps were built on these 30%. Now they want to curb all the 35% of the land first. That is in the form of the in every village there are pastures. They just want to get the access to that land so that they can make the settlements there and push the Muslims to other front. So that was their ideology. That was the ideology of the RSS. That was the ideology of the Hindutva. So is the thing that we people are going through from last 70 years. So the thing is that for the difference between the 90s and today is that at that time there was no, just like there was no outreach to the outer world at that time. But this time there's outreach. It's a time of a 5G, and still they block all the communication lines, and they just playing their fabricated audios, just their fabricated news on their own TV channels, and say that there is normal situation in Kashmir. But we people know, we live there, we people know what the condition will be there. So we know the fact. We know the fact. So actually, there was a friend. There was a friend of mine who's in that time, on the 16th August. His father told him that the condition is normal, but you didn't come to Kashmir. So the thing is that was a police person in front of her house. He tell what is the situation here. So they did not only cut our communication lines, but they also make us dumb.
So they've cut the communication lines, Umar, and you said that you haven't been able to talk with your family at home. When's the last time that you communicated with your family?
On 4th August.
4th August. So it's been 10 days.
On 4th August, I talked with my mom.
And how often do you usually speak with your family?
On 4th August, my day starts with a call to my mom. But from the 5th August, I can't focus on my work. There is something that retards me from doing work. I don't know how to do a work. How can I make I give my 100% to the work, because I didn't know about my family. When I start my work, there is an image of that thing that I have seen before. There was just like that image in front of me. What happened to my motherland? Not only to my home. There are thousands of people who are in other parts of the world, who are in other states of India. It's just tear cheek. So it's like, I don't think that this kind of punishment, this kind of torture, anybody, Nazis didn't do that kind of the torture. They just put the people in the concentration camps. But this should be written in the history, in the gruesome history, that what Modi did to the Kashmir, what Amit Shah did to the Kashmir. This must be written so that the modern world, the world that comes after us, know that there are some people who make the neck of other innocent peoples their path for success, their path for cheer.
Well, this certainly is an issue that needs to go down in history. And as we are seeing history unfolding in front of us, and we are witnessing, certainly Kashmiris especially, scattered all over the world like yourself, are witnessing or enduring the suffering of going through being out of communication with their families, with your family. We are hoping for a change, for some kind of a brighter, more hopeful future. So I want to ask you, Umar, what do you think the future for Kashmir looks like?
Yes, the future is that I think onwards, after the scrapping of the Article 370, when a person loses his identity, how can he channelize his future or her future? When your identity have been snatched, when you are all the things you are proud of have been snatched from you, then how can a person think of their how can a person channelize their future? The most important thing that I want to discuss with you is that if I go to a year before, there are some doctors, there are some engineers who just pick a gun against the India. They just snatched the gun of the India and then use it against the India. So they are having a PhD degree. They are having a good job. There was one professor that I want to mention. His name, Dr. Rafi, who was assistant professor in the University of Kashmir. Why he picked the gun? Because he knows that there is no future. We didn't have a future. What kind of future we are having? That when we leave the home in the morning, our mother asks her, our mother our mothers just look at our face. Will my son will be back or not? So It's the everyday story of Kashmir. So I think that world focus uh, must focus on the Kashmir, because if there will be a war between India and Pakistan on some issue, so the Kashmiri people become become the become you can say become the target of it. Neither the India will win, neither the Pakistan will win. But who suffers from last 60 years, and who will suffer from words that a common is suffering from last 70 years and still is suffering now this kind of thing that I didn't hear or I didn't see, that there is complete blockage of internet, there is complete blockage of the medicines, there is complete blockage of the food supplies. So how, if there is no communication, so how can a person know are there essential commodities there? So we don't know what kind of politics is this, what kind of administration is this. Recently I got the news that there was a district magistrate who just joined the politics a year before. He has been detained and put in house arrest. So it was the it is
And
what
if
kind of
I can interject,
I am feeling
Omar,
shocked.
this is something that's been happening all the way up to the very top level with the most mainstream, highest level politicians in Jammu and Kashmir, Mahbooba Mufti, Omar Abdullah, now Shah Faisal. They've all been arrested, and these are people that Mufti and Abdullah. They're the former chief ministers of Jammu and Kashmir. They were even actually previously in coalition with BJP,
Yes,
and yet even now they're being arrested. So as you say, this district magistrate being arrested, politicians on every level in Kashmir, it sounds like, are being put behind bars, and under what charges?
it's an indication. It's an indication of that thing that this government just want to propel their idea. If any person will just say a word against it, they must be put him behind the bars, just for saying a different thing, just for say yes, everybody is right to express, everybody is having a right to speak. But if you it's they just not scrap 370. That was an article in the constitution. With this scrapping, they just scrap the first page of the constitution, of Indian constitution, that gives the fundamental rights to all the people of India. So they not only uh, scrapped 370, but they tear out the first page of their constitution as well. So this is the thing, that now the politicians, the mainstream politicians and the separatists, they will come close. They will come close because now there will be an idea that is a common idea, because India betrayed Kashmiris from decades. Now there will be a common idea, and I hope that if there will be there will be uh, uh, some freeness in Kashmir, so that group which now form, that will create a problem for the India, that will create a problem for the thing that worried me a lot is when the curfew will be taken off, what will happen?
That's an
What will
excellent
happen to the
And that's an excellent question. When the curfew is lifted, what will happen? The longer that the curfew remains in place, it seems the more likely the consequences of lifting it will be negative. That keeping it in place for a long time and keeping it in place longer and longer is actually going to worsen the consequences when it's finally lifted.
Of course, that time there is harvesting season. There is an there we you know that in Kashmir there is well boosted horticulture. There is well boosted horticulture industry. So what happened with those people whose backbone is that horticulture? What happened with those people who are having a well well lush grain those people? We have food to partner with food. Danger comes into just like a bomb, and it will comes out into the streets. And what will happen after that? What will be the move of the India after that? That must be the deciding factor for the Kashmir. So we have witnessed it. We have witnessed a large number of massacres in Kashmir, or whether it may be the Gaukadal massacre, whether it may be the Puran Poshpura massacre, whether it may be the Anantnag massacre. We have witnessed a lot of massacres in the Kashmir, but this time it is a mass massacre that they people are doing. They made Kashmir just like a cage, and they are just feeding Kashmiris just a poison, and this poison will comes out into the streets, and those people who inject this poison into the Kashmir will have to pay for it, will have they also have to see the consequences of it. What they have sown, they shall have to reap it.
Truer words have rarely been spoken, Umar. I do appreciate your time and you offering your perspective on this issue. I hope that you get back in touch with your family very soon. I
Hopefully.
stand with solidarity in hoping for a bright future for Kashmir and for peace and for the lifting of this curfew very, very soon.
Okay.
Thank you, Umar.
Thank you. Thank you, Victor.